Awake and ready for what? So, my name is Shyama, and I'm here with Dhyan. We come from Ananda village, and we are having a wonderful time here in Dallas, sharing Yogananda's teachings. This is a beautiful group. We had a wonderful kirtan on Friday, yesterday a full day workshop, and today is Sunday service, and we hope that you stay afterwards so we can connect personally with everyone. It's really a joy to be here with you all. So today we are talking about how shall we meet or test, because how many of you has had some test in life? Can we relate with that? Okay, so we are in the right place at the right time. But let me start with this reading by Paramahansa Yogananda. Teach me to perform every work only to please thee. Father, teach me to perform all my work only to please thee. Let me feel thee as the electricity of life, moving the machinery of my bones, nerves, and muscles. In every heart throb, every breath, every burst of vital activity, teach me to feel thy power. Thank you. So as the reading was saying that Jocelyn just read to us, and as this poem said, the tests are there and we cannot avoid them, but it is about how do we present ourselves to those, and how do we accept them and work with them, because it is that we are limited in many, many ways, but it's when we open to a great power that we can go through everything that life brings us. We meet our test on the best of our abilities. Sometimes that best doesn't look that good, but we have tools that keep growing and improving and change, because it's not about the moment in every given moment, but it's actually the journey that we go through in life. If you think of yourself when you were a little person, and the test may be just that you don't want to eat your vegetables, and now here you are receiving them with open arms, kind of asking for them. So the tests change, but how can we work with those tests? Also, we need to be aware that those tests, sometimes it comes from outside. The world gives us plenty, but many times also those tests come from inside, like those resistances that, or those challenges that you are aware of the situation, you are almost, like with openness somehow, but you feel that inside there is some kind of resistances that you know that your test lies within. So let's see, how do we meet our test? The first thing that I want to mention is about the attitude, because we cannot change the circumstances, but we need to work with ourselves. So whatever life brings you is, how do you interact with that? What is yours to take? So if something, the challenge or the test comes, and you are like gloomy and close, and you don't want to do anything about that, sorry to say, the test is not going to go away. But when we work with our attitude, is that then we can meet our test. When we are vibrating, we were saying yesterday that we are beings of energy in a world of energy, and energy moves in waves. When we are vibrating in a certain vibration length wave, we will be finding specific problems. And unless we change, we will still finding those problems, those tests, those challenges the same. But it's when we change our vibration, is that then we can meet our test in a different way. So we become bigger, stronger, hopefully wiser, and then we say, okay, that test is not that big of a deal. Now I can see maybe what is the solution, or how can I deal with this situation in a different way. And this is because we are raising our energy, we are raising our consciousness, and that's the whole journey of the spiritual life. How do we increase our awareness and our consciousness? Now for this, because Yogananda said also something very interesting, and I myself apply quite often. When a challenge comes, instead thinking of, oh, this is a problem, let's think about, okay, this is an adventure. This is not a problem, but this is a challenge. And with a challenge, maybe we can see there is an opportunity. So don't see life as giving you a problem, but it's giving you an opportunity. And when you the point of view change into an opportunity point of view, then there is options. We have a friend at Ananda village that she's getting old, as we all are, but she's in the older side, and her body is giving her a little bit of opportunities. And it was very sweet. I saw her recently. Normally we don't cross paths that often, so when we see each other, it's very beautiful. So this time she was out and about, and we met each other, and I asked her, how are you doing? And she said with a beautiful smile, good enough. And that was very interesting. I've never heard that before. Because, how are you doing? I'm doing good, I'm doing well. She said, good enough. And that was interesting because she could also have said, oh, my body's doing this. Oh, I don't feel the motivation. She could go down, but she said, good enough. And that was interesting because the enough, you put the level, where is the good enough? But I'm good enough to show up. I'm good enough to go and pick up my mail. I'm good enough to smile. I'm good enough. And we all can do at least good enough. So again, it's the attitude, and how do we show up every day? Now, to change our attitude, I found 3 attitudes that help me a good amount to keep my energy as high as possible. The first one is enthusiasm. Sometimes I feel like a little puppy, just like jumping on enthusiasm, and I need to control myself and say, okay, be centered. But when we see life with enthusiasm, we are opening a big door, a big window for the light to shine through. Enthusiasm is joy in motion, and we are joy. That's our nature. So when we approach life with enthusiasm, we are saying, yes, I have no idea how I'm going to do it or how I'm going to confront this test, but yes, bring it on. And the enthusiasm is going to help to raise your energy. And when we have energy, we can meet our test in a much better way. Another 2 qualities that I like quite a bit is to see life with a sense of adventure and awe, with curiosity. So when things come, when you are navigating life, try to see what is behind. Like if we stop, something is coming and we just stop in the appearances, that is going to be very limited. But try to see what is behind that. What is the adventure just waiting behind this apparent situation? I have a friend, she's an artist, and she likes to go out and draw. And wherever she is, she likes to bring especially nature into her sketchbook. This day, it was a beautiful day. She was out, she was doing these beautiful paintings, in this case with watercolors, which it activates with water. And it started raining. But not 1 or 2 drops, it's like pouring. And with watercolors, they activate with water, so all the painting was just like gone. So she packed and went into her car, just waiting to the rain to pass, for that cloud to pass. But the rain was quite insistent. So she was out there, in this case in her car, trying to do some art, to paint something. And she realized that the rain is not going to go anywhere. And even if it stopped raining, everything was soaking wet. So it was not a good plan to go out. So what she did, she took her sketchbook and started drawing inside the car. She noticed that there was a tree. In the tree, it was a raccoon. So she started painting a raccoon. And then she thought, she started thinking about what is the raccoon doing? Why was he there? What was the adventure that raccoon was also going through, because he was also protecting himself from the rain. So she started thinking about a story. And you cannot believe it. In the time that she was stuck in her car, she created a story for children, fully illustrated. And it was the whole story of the raccoon having an adventure in the tree in the park. So how do we take the test? And this is a wholesome test, but hey, if your best day is looking a certain way and then life decides to rain, change. Take life with that sense of adventure. It's going to be much fun, and you will be discovering much more, way beyond that you were imagining. Another thing also with this sense of curiosity and awe, it is very inspiring to see children how they see life. Is that this is a blank canvas. They don't have any agenda. They just show up. It's like, okay, what is in here for me? And they just, whatever is in front of them, they take it and they use it and they embrace it. Let's go back to that innocence, to that curiosity about life. Because even when tests are coming and seemingly they seem hard or difficult, there may be a blessing right around the corner. So be open, enthusiastic, and creative. But also, a big lesson with tests is that how do we embrace this test, is that it is important that we do it with God and we do it with the divine. And when I say God, is whatever it resonates with you. Some people like to think as the divine mother just taking care of you, or maybe the divine father giving you the resources, or maybe even like nature, whatever the divine is. But connect with it in your heart, because we are not alone. So every test, it comes from God. That means that it is not just a capriccio. It's not that just life said, okay, I'm going to send you a test just because whatever. The test comes for some reason. And again, it's because the journey, we need to go through that journey of learning and growing and eventually expanding, going beyond our little self. So these tests come from God. And if we take them as a gift from the divine, we will be more able to gain the strength that we need to go through these tests and challenges. There is the story of Santa Teresa of Avila. She was a nun reforming the whole church in Spain in the, I think it was in the 1500s or something like that. Anyway, when people wanted to move from point A to point B, they would go in chariots and with horses. And in this case, Santa Teresa was in one of her journeys to build a new monastery, a new convent. So they were the horses and the chariots and another group of nuns in their travels, and it was raining again. And not only that, they needed to cross a creek, a river. So Teresa said, okay, let me go first, and then you all can come after. So she was almost there, but then with the river, they lost the balance. She fell, she got wet, it was winter, it was cold, it was raining, but she made it to the other side of the bank of the river. And when she went there, for a moment, she looked up and talked with Jesus. She was constantly talking with God, with Jesus, and she said, Lord, is this how you treat all your friends? Like why you did that to me? I'm doing this work for you. And then Jesus appeared to her and said, yes, Teresa, this is how I treat my friends. And she said, now I see why you have so few. And this is when we embrace a greater life that's about to come, but is to embrace that greatness, we need to stretch, and that stretch, it is through test. So those tests come from God, and we need to go through them with God. And this is important to understand that we are not alone. God is just with us, giving us the resources in the 11th hour, but giving us the strength and giving us all that we need to go through those tests. There is another story that says that there was this person walking on the beach, holding God's hand, and let's say that in a form of physical form. Anyway, because this person was walking, and once in a while he was looking behind, and they will see two pair of footsteps on the sand. And in the moment of challenge, this person was feeling that it was walking by himself. He didn't feel the presence of God because in life was going through big challenges. And at that time, that moment, he looked behind and saw only one set of steps. And he stopped and cried, God, where are you? In my most difficult times, I'm all by myself. I feel I'm alone. And God said, did you realize those single set of steps? That was me carrying you on your hardest times. In those moments, we all go through those difficult moments that we feel that we don't have the strength, that we are alone. But not at all. There is that, just the fact that you are alive, there is a tremendous power of energy flowing through your body, flowing through your veins, from your bones and nervous system. And that's a gift. So take a moment and still your mind, still your heart, and try to feel that just the fact that you are alive, that's a miracle. And from that, expand it to feel that is God flowing through you. And the last thing I would like to say is that not only we are doing, the tests come from God and we are doing it with God, is that we are in God. And this is constant. And again, the fact that we are alive, this is a miracle. The fact that we have such a machinery as our body, this is another miracle. The fact that we can interact with each other, this is a real gift. And we need to understand that the closer we get, the harder we are just immersed in our own life, in our own problems. We are small. We cannot be happy with that, though we think that we are getting what we want. That's too small. Our real nature is eternal, it's expansive, it's limitless. So we are in the journey of remembering that we are that limitless being, and in that limitless, all are one. We all are one. We are one with everything and with everyone. So by understanding and feeding that concept that there is not distance, there is no difference between each other. We are living our own little thread of life, but at the beginning and at the end, we are all the same. So the more we live in that oneness, the less we are going to suffer, because we will understand deeper and deeper that everything comes from God and everything is God. Many blessings.
Thank you. Good morning.
There is a story about children who were asked to draw a self-portrait in school. And there was the American child who drew the portrait, big face on the picture, piece of paper, all the details of their face, their ears, their nose, their eyes, all the things that were very much what they thought was themselves. And then there was a Navajo child also in this class. And as they were sharing their portraits with the class, show and tell, most of the children had their face, or maybe their bodies, maybe with a little bit of a family nearby. And then the Navajo child showed their self-portrait, and their body was very small. And in addition, they saw the trees, the mountains, the birds, the elk, nature. And they were asked, well, we asked you to draw a self-portrait. Why did you draw essentially a landscape? And he said, this is a part of who I am. This is who I see myself being part of. And it's so true when we face our tests and when we see ourselves in those tests, our world tends to get rather small, doesn't it? We kind of shrink onto ourselves and blow out of proportion the tests that we face. And so a big thing that we all need to do is learn how to gain perspective, how to take a step back from making a mountain over a molehill. You know, Swami Kriyananda shared this amusing story. Once he was on a bus driving somewhere, I think in India, and he was quite startled because he thought there was this gigantic monster crawling up the side of a building, and he looks, and it was a fly on the window. But because it was so close, it was huge. It was looming. And so our perspective is very important, and it's a unfortunate aspect of the ego, the I, me, mine consciousness, that whatever happens to us, we kind of focus on ourselves. How does this impact me personally? I don't want this to happen. Why is this person behaving like this? Why are they treating me like that? What do I want from life? And that ego motivation is like a vortex. No matter what happens to it, it draws those experiences to its own relative small center. And so the teachings of yoga help us to expand that center, help us to tune into the divine center within ourselves through very scientific measures. So as Shyama was saying, working with energy. Very simple. If our energy goes down the spine, we contract into ourself. Our life becomes very small. Our perspective becomes very small. It's all relative to our own individuality. But if that energy starts moving up the spine, very naturally, simultaneously, our consciousness expands. We become more in tune with a broader reality. And that reality is far more enjoyable, far more strengthening, far more expansive. And so how do we do this? I remember a time I was making meditation benches in Ananda Village. And I don't know why, but I was assembling these benches and a mood started to assail upon me. And I just felt this incredibly dense energy just get denser and denser, and my heart closed, and my energy was just getting more and more negative. I'm like, my God, what's happening to me? You know, it felt like this inner storm was happening. And this thought came, go energize. It's like, no, I don't want to energize. I got work to do. And go energize. It's like, God, I'm so busy. I got this, objective. I got to finish this number of benches. I mean, how many times do we resist the things that are good for us, right? And so kept coming, go energize. And so finally I said, okay, fine. Like a little child just throwing down my workstation, going outside. But I stood there for a moment under the sun, and I felt I could energize mechanically right now and probably get some benefit. Just like if we meditate mechanically, we get some benefit. Any effort is registered in the ether. But if I put my full energy in these practices and really command control over my consciousness and really tense with will and relax and feel and try to feel through those exercises, through the energization exercises, that I'm really opening myself to a deeper flow of energy. And wouldn't you believe it, within the second exercise out of 39 exercises, my entire mood was gone. I was in a completely different space, and it was such a joyful experience because, one, I realized, right, the teachings work. Go figure, right? These techniques of yoga, they work. But what was really impactful was how profoundly different my consciousness was within a few seconds. It went from a light or a dark consciousness, a heavy consciousness that saw nothing but wrong in the world, to a light consciousness that was open to the goodness of the world. So we're from Northern California. Shyama's from Spain, but I'm from California. And Ananda Village is in fire country. And I'm sure you've seen the news that there was a series of years that there were these mega fires that were just tearing through towns, leveling homes, and it was pretty dramatic. And our life is very much, from July through October is very much on alert. Actually, I carry a pager, so as soon as that thing vibrates, I'm definitely on alert because I'm sort of one of the first responders in the village. But one of the fires that impacted, I think, the town of, maybe it was Paradise, which you probably heard, that basically destroyed the entire town. But nonetheless, there was one of these mega fires, and there was this Times magazine or some article in a major magazine that was doing a story on this, and it had a picture of this couple who lost everything. And they're standing on their street wearing black pants, a gray coat. Everything behind them is blackened. There's nothing left. And they're holding a lemon. What a stark image. Everything's gray and black, and you have this bright lemon in their hand. And they're saying, we lost everything. All of our family albums, all of our heirlooms, everything, our home, everything. but we have this lemon to make tonight's martini. And it was like, wow, what a perspective. Because, of course, the martini was just an example of we're still alive. We still have each other. We're still able to go forward on our journey and still continue this process of learning our lessons. You know, isn't it so when we focus on a fixed reality, if only I can just secure this fixed reality, this one desire, this one outcome in life, as soon as change comes and starts to shake that, we begin to get very insecure. And those tests in life become very real. But if our aim in life is growth, if our aim in life is expansion, if our aim in life is to understand who and what we truly are in our innermost self, then change is great. Change and tests are an opportunity for further growth. We don't have to be afraid of them. But how do we gain the most from our tests? Self-offering. You know, when we offer ourselves into the experience the test is offering us with the awareness, what is there to learn? What can I gain from this experience? What in me has to change? What do I have to give up? There's this beautiful story that Sri Yukteswar Yogananda's guru said in an autobiography of a yogi, that when he was a young boy, his mom said, don't go in that closet, there's a ghost in the closet. Well, the first thing he did was go to the closet and try to find the ghost. And he was actually disappointed. There's no ghost. But he was disappointed. What an avatar, you know. That's the attitude, you know. Face the test with courage. But it's amazing because Swami went on, or Sri Yukteswar went on to say, when we face our fears, they cease to bother us. And so what often happens is that these tests come, these changes come, and we get into this fear space of what's going to be left if this is gone. Who will I be if I'm not this or that or have this or that? And we begin to get into that fearful place, which only contracts our energy. We begin to implode on ourselves. But if we face the fear courageously and honestly, and Swami Kriyananda said that if we can look at the fear and accept, now this is a meditative practice. When you begin to feel fear, imagine the worst possible thing that can happen to you. And bring that into meditation and strip yourself from all those things that you think bring security, but they're just baggage. And arrive to that crystal clear understanding that everything can be taken away from me and it will not change who I am. I can lose my job. I can lose my spouse. I can lose my money. Everything in my life can change. And what's left? I'm still intact. I'm still here. And if we can arrive to that place and offer ourselves into the understanding that our life is of a grand purpose, we're all expressions of, we are children of the light. Now this sounds wonderful and romantic, great platitudes, but the teachings of yoga help us to taste that reality. They help us to experience that divine touch in a way that's very real to us. And if we can feel that, even for a moment, we can begin to offer ourselves more consciously into that experience. We can offer our fears into that experience. We can put our confidence in that experience. We can put our faith in that experience. And then it begins to open that door more and more widely. You know, I would have to say that the most profound experience I ever had with Swami Kriyananda when he was in the body was due to a severe test. So I was just about to graduate college. I was quite proud. I had finally accomplished something of worth, so I thought, in my life. And I was quite proud of it. So I was inviting my father, my earthly father, to come to the graduation. He was quite cynical of Ananda. He was cynical of my life choices, and he was not afraid to let me know about it. And so he was quite outwardly vocal about, you're actually going to graduate from that place? He was quite ridiculing. So all of a sudden, my inspired place of like, finally I've accomplished something in my life, dropped down to the mud. And I was just like, my God, I'm tired of this person in my life. But lo and behold, a week later, we had a private interview with Swami Kriyananda. And Swami walked up from his apartment in Crystal Hermitage. And because we requested the interview, he didn't start sharing teachings. He said, so do you have any questions? And every time before that, whenever I had met Swami Kriyananda, I was so struck just by the magnitude of his consciousness that I was quite shy. I was quite uncomfortable. I didn't just go out and say, thank you, Swamiji, and engage with them. I was always quite reserved and quiet. But this time, The test was so great that I no longer had anything to hold on to. There was my heart felt so broken that it was just as soon as he opened his mouth and said, "Are there any questions?" No one else said anything. It was like, Swami. And in that effort, I asked a question, whatever it was, and I could feel myself for the first time letting go of all the things that I thought were important to hold on to. And for the first time, I was completely opened. And he shared about his life, about his father not accepting his way of being on the path. But more importantly, I just felt this flood-like love permeating my being, that it drew me into this experience of finally feeling loved unconditionally, that here I am looking at this man crying. And it's like, this is my father. This is my path. This is what my life's about. But it came from the point of being pushed to my limit where I had nothing else to hold on to. You know, in some ways, it's one of the most dangerous temptations to fall into, to think that something in this world will give us security, that something in this world will give us our worth, that something in this world will give us our purpose. Because so long as we hold on to those anchors, we think we got this, we're good, and we might be good for a while, but then change comes. Then what happens? We're not good anymore. And so the teachings of yoga inspire us, motivate us. Seek your refuge within and find that calm center in yourself. And when you begin to experience that calmness, that begins to mold us and shape us in saints. As Yoganandaji said in one of his whispers, "Chisel thou my life to thy design." It's very difficult to accept the chiseling of God when we're holding on to the rock faces of our life. But we say, hey, there's a polished statue waiting to be discovered within this being. Let me let life polish and shape me in a way that's expansive. But it's difficult because we make mistakes, right? And that's the greatest test. As it says in this reading, Yogananda said, well, one, he didn't say in this reading, but he said the greatest sin is to call yourself a sinner. But in this reading, he said the saint is the sinner who never gave up. Now, what is sin? It's error. It's making mistakes. It's not meant to condemn us. And yet, we're pretty good at condemning ourselves, aren't we? We make the mistakes. We try to practice the techniques. And it's like, God, I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing enough of that. I said this. I did that. And the laundry list just keeps growing and growing. Well, what happens when we identify with error? When we identify with our mistakes? We give ourselves all the more reason to keep on making the same mistakes. It becomes a part of who we are. You know, there's this beautiful example that we were watching the show The Chosen. Who's watched The Chosen? It's pretty nice. It's about the life of Jesus. It's quite inspiring. And we just finished the episode where Judas, right, had turned over Jesus for a few coins. And I was kind of amused by Judas because he is one who's gone down in history as being probably the most, popular disciple, because he's made one of the greatest mistakes. And I'm sure like a church right now somewhere in Dallas is talking about the mistake of Judas and Judas. And isn't it so? We hold against Judas this grave mistake. How could he turn his guru in? How could he turn against Jesus and sell him off to the Romans? It was because of him he was crucified. How dare him? Sound a little familiar? How could I have done that mistake? And we condemn ourselves. It's interesting because Paramahansa Yogananda said that Judas, the soul that was Judas, reincarnated as a disciple of Ramakrishna in the early 19th century. And in that lifetime, he found perfect freedom. So the soul that was Judas, who made that mistake, who we still hold against him for turning into Jesus, is now free. He's in bliss. He's probably laughing. It's like, if you only knew my consciousness. I'm far beyond that mistake. And so it's so important for us to gain that perspective, the longer rhythms of our lives, because we'll make the mistakes. We'll fub. We'll completely sometimes lay out flat like, oh my God, that's the best I can do. But we have to pick ourselves up and try again. As Yoganandaji said, the season of failure is failure is the best season for sowing the seeds of success. And so we make we have the shortcomings, we have the slips, but it's all about getting ourselves up, dusting off, learn the lesson, and keep trying our best. Because God works through our best effort. And often, it doesn't look all that good. But what choice do we have? We are who we are. We're where we're at in life. And we're being given the opportunities through life's experiences to move forward in our journey. And we do our best. But what's really important is to focus on where we're going to go. There's this beautiful story of the life of St. Anthony of the desert, who, I forget what century, he was quite early, maybe 200 or 300 after Christ, very early on. St. Anthony, it was...
no, it was a different saint.
Yes, exactly. It was earlier.
It
But
says to Anthony.
anyway, so he spent decades of his life seeking solitude in the desert. Decades. From cave to cave, removing himself from society, not wanting to see anybody. He felt that everything in life was a temptation away from his spiritual path. So eliminate everything. Guard himself from all temptation, all challenges, all those tests, and go inside. And he was pestered by the devil quite a bit. There's this wonderful story of his life where, the devil appeared and was going to ruin his entire cave that he was living in. Is I'm going to destroy you. And he kept clinging to the Bible and clinging to Christ. And he said, no, God. And after he had found God, after he had an experience of divine love, his whole life took a turn. Before, things were a constant source of temptation, a constant source of testing. Now, everything becomes a constant reminder of God's love. Everything becomes, at the heart of creation, a shining example of that divine love, of who and what he truly is, a reflection of God's joy, of love for him. And so it is for us, as Swami Kriyananda said, when we live life rejecting the world, we ourselves become smaller, and everything else, all the tests of life, become greater. He says that problems exist on our own relative level of energy. And if we ourselves shrink away from the problems of life, trying to find the easier way around it, the problems continue to loom, and our energies become more and more small. But if we ourselves confront those and say, okay, what am I here to learn? And do what we can to raise our energy, we raise our energy above the problem and it ceases to be. And so in that consciousness of saying yes to life, we say yes to the direction we want to go. And he says in the renunciant order for a new age, don't be world rejecting, be samadhi affirming. Affirm samadhi, affirm oneness, to affirm divine love, joy, bliss, what we want in life. Because so long as we set our mark on those qualities, we set our mark on divine freedom, on spiritual growth, it doesn't matter what happens to us outside. Everything just becomes fuel, a stimulant for further growth. And so let us put our energy into that growth. And no matter what happens to us, let's see that it is for a reason. It may take a while to understand what that reason is. It may take a little bit of inner homework for us to understand the clarity, to understand what I'm supposed to do in this experience. But if we say yes to it, then that process of discovery becomes joy-filled. Thank you. God bless. Now we'll have our offertory.
What you have to offer in your right hand, please pray with me. Divine Mother.
Divine Mother, we offer to thee the fruit of our labors. Bless this offering,